Yes, everyone, you know what time it is. It's your boys Ash and Jack here. We're going to be talking about who will Ange be thinking about replacing the certain Romero and Mickey Van de Ven, as well as Udoji this upcoming weekend. We're joined by the lovely Ash Maddock from Southview Coys TV. Head on over to their channel. Will be in the description and in those comments. And as well, if you do recognize a certain Marlon Green, he's also from that channel as well, sending in those great predictions from over there, and he's been sadly quite accurate in his most recent one. So Marlon, I'm going to need to see some wins next time, sir. But Ash, start off with you, sir. What's going through Ange's mind this weekend when it comes to that defense? Because he will have some returners, you know, in the case of Romero and Udoji eventually, but this weekend he's pretty much threadbare. So what do you think is going through his head?
It's an interesting question because when he brought on Højbjerg and Dier, I thought they were quite good. So I wanted to just give them a quick shout out. I know a lot of fans were thinking, oh, Dier, Højbjerg. But I thought even Højbjerg's recovery pace was excellent. And I thought him playing out the back was quite superb. So however, don't think he will start with Højbjerg, maybe Dier. And I think he wants centre backs playing centre back. So if Davies is available, then that might be a feature. Hopefully it's not the case. I would prefer to see Phillips being given a go. When I did like a little analysis on him, he looks very quick, very fast. And a lot of the rumors I am hearing through the grapevine is that he's meant to be a really fast guy. I'll keep seeing it as well on the actual official website, on this social media, for Spurs official. It keeps showing him. So I'm thinking, are they giving us a sign? Are they trying to tell us something? I'm reading into it a little bit. But yeah, by looking at him, he's definitely got the height. He's definitely got the physicality. I know he's good in the air and he's quite young. The question mark is experience. But I think if you're going to have to put him in, now's the time, man. Against Wolves, give him his debut away from home. Why not? That's what I would do. I'd give the kid a go. There's a reason why he's in the squad before. He's been along with the starting squad before. Just hasn't started, but he's been on the bench. So now's the perfect time to kind of maybe put him in that squad. And with the players around him and the experience around him, I think it should be able to work. If you've got Dier's experience and then you've got his legs, then maybe the two of them can help see us out until maybe January when we can go shopping again and look for another suitable centre-back.
I think there is a good chance that Phillips would start here, just because I don't really know if there's a benefit in having Davies and Dier personally at the same time. Emerson is a funny one. It's like he is going to be pretty useful in that it feels like he can sort of slot in at center back. If you need him to, he'll do a job. And if you need him to do a job sort of in that inverted left back role, he can sort of do an all right one there. In fact, he kind of was better than Ben Davies actually in playing that position. So that's where I kind of struggle a bit, is that if you go with Ashley Phillips, he'll likely kind of fill in probably Romero's role in kind of the right-sided center back position. So who then fills in that left-sided center back position? Maybe the choice of conventional kind of choice of a Dier or a Davies, but hopefully it's not both, where it's both of them playing in the back line, or maybe Dier playing on the left-sided center back and Davies on the left back. I just don't think that would be a good combination of sorts, but it is tough decisions no matter what he kind of runs into. It would be crazy to see Højbjerg actually used as a center back and picked again. That being said, though, he was, like you brought up there, good in possession, right? He was decent defensively, but he kind of, with 9 men, you know, you already have fewer options to pass to. It feels like you're just being swarmed, you know, constantly. But he had this sort of coolness and kind of, you know, composure under pressure when Chelsea were trying to win it from us. And I think thanks to players like Højbjerg, thanks to players like Emerson, and even Dier to an extent as well, when he came on, they did have this bit of composure about them kind of in possession that actually allowed us to play through Chelsea, even with 9 men. And that's what also was pretty impressive, I think, is seeing actually a 9-man team still create and fasten chances, you know, and still be able to make passing patterns. And that was thanks to, I think, guys like Højbjerg coming into the team. But would he really play center back? It just, that's a tough one, and it would be really unconventional.
Just for an argument's sake, you have to remember that Eric Dier was once a midfielder. So it's not that crazy. And when I watched Højbjerg a lot of the times, when we were playing with Conte, he would normally jump into the centre-back role. So the two centre-backs would split. Højbjerg would drop in between two of them, and he would kind of play out from the back. He would join. He did that a lot of the times. Even when we were defending, he'd sometimes jump into the actual back line. So it's not too wild to think, okay, Højbjerg can actually play a centre back, and he did a decent job. He knows what's required there. And as I said before, because Dier had been converted during like Pochettino's reign, maybe Ange has got the same thinking. You've got someone that's confident on the ball, that has a bit of recovery pace, that's a leader as well. I mean, I think most people would say, I know you're a Højbjerg fan, aren't you?
I'm
You
a
are.
huge Højbjerg fan.
Yeah.
It's nice to hear
So,
someone else, give a little bit of praise and recognition. It's nice.
so I mean, him at the back and his leadership skills is not too crazy to think of. I would prefer a centre back playing centre back, if I'm being totally honest.
Yeah.
But he actually did a job, and if Ange needs him to stay in that position, but my thing is the youngsters need to be given a go. Everyone, like it's an interesting debate you throw up, because Ben Davies, where would you prefer to have him? Would you prefer to have him as a left back, or would you prefer him as a centre back? Or most people prefer not to have him at all. He's like almost like a steady Eddie, but he doesn't offer you much with the
Speaking
ball.
of steady Eddie, though, too, right, Ash? Some people just want 3 points, and that's how they want to, no matter what the combination is, what's the best chance of getting 3 points when you're in these sort of threadbare situations? And does that then mean, you just tolerate then a Ben Davies because there's less risk in that, or an Eric Dier, right? Like we're talking about Højbjerg maybe switching to a center back role, but in a way, do you just go to something that you already know with an Eric Dier? I don't know, but there is something in that, if that you just want 3 points and you just want to see if you can get through 90 minutes, right? So I think that's probably going through maybe Ange's head as well, right?
The thing is, for me, I'm like, you see, like what it is, it feels like you're playing with a man less, because the whole point of that centre back role in a high line is for them to be able to do someone's got to do the recovery runs. If it's not Eric Dier doing recovery runs, or the right-sided centre back doing recovery runs, then it's got to be the left-sided centre back, or vice versa. Someone's got to do those recovery runs, and if they can't do it, then the fullback has to help out massively. So you're kind of at a disadvantage when you're playing that high line, and then you kind of want to question does Ange have to tweak his tactics? Now, he said he doesn't change his tactics if it's 11 men, 10 men, 5 men. But now we're in a situation where we're playing a high line, and if we try to squeeze the pitch, it just takes a simple ball over the top. For example, when we play Aston Villa, you've got the likes of Dier running in behind. When we're playing Man City, we've got the likes of Doku running in behind. So you've got many teams now, like even Newcastle, you've got players that can run in behind. So they're going to look at that Chelsea game and think, hang on a second, just do a ball over the top or into the channels, and that's how we defeat Spurs. And I think that's where Ange has to be a little bit clever now and think, wait, hang on a second. If I haven't got the players to play that high line or play that, do I need to change something? And this is why I'm saying, look, play Phillips, because yes, he's only done it at championship level. Yes, he's only done it at under 21 level. But I think now is the best time to kind of bring a kid in like this. And it's a happy place as well. Even when we lost 4-1, Becaro came out and he said he's never been in a team where he's lost 4-1 and got a standing out ovation. So can you imagine what that did to the players and the mood around the camp going in against one of your rivals as well? So I think it's a perfect time to bring a youngster in. You don't want to bring him in where the club's in turmoil, or there's negativity, or in that there's battles,
A lot of pressure on his shoulders or something like
on the
that.
shoulder. Exactly. There's less pressure. And Ange's got less pressure himself. It's his first season. He's only had 11 games. So I think now's the time. We've been calling for it as a fan base to kind of start the younger players. I think now is the perfect time to kind of bleed him in, because you're not going to get any other opportunity. We're not in a Carling Cup. FA Cup doesn't start until January. So Wolves away from home, why not? Why not give him that experience? He does. They haven't got Neto. It's not like they've got bags of pace in and behind us, so
thankfully
it's going to be different. I'll be like, oh, but the kid's meant to be quite quick, so use him. Use the players at your disposal. And the academy team has been doing well. All of the levels, under 17s, 18s, 19s, under 21s, they've all been doing well. The club's doing well in at this current moment. So why not bring him into show him? Yeah, why not? Why not?
Do you think too, though, because of that, there's also the fact that we kind of just know with previous managers and even kind of from preseason, from what we could tell too, that like we brought up with Davies and Dyer, we kind of know what we're getting with them. So these are the opportunities to look more towards the future. And there might be some bumps in the road. There might be some moments where they might not perform to their best or they might not be fully ready, but we kind of just know what we're getting with kind of the older kind of guys that already one of them is kind of halfway out the door anyways. I think in the case of Dyer, like he might be leaving in January, likely to leave in the summer, right? Because he's not getting his contract renewed. So do we really feel like this is the opportunity if we were kind of fully behind this rebuild, fully behind this sort of revamp of Spurs? This is your chance then to kind of maybe instead give an opportunity to a youngster, give an opportunity to an Ashley Phillips who was already brought in, with a fee and everything to, I think, eventually replace these type of players, the Dier and the Davies. I think one of them will be in the team, will be in the back four. A Dier or Davies likely will be, just because we're so threadbare. But I think there's a chance that you could leave at least one of them on the bench actually, and then put in an Ashley Phillips and give him that vote of confidence, because we already know that one of them's already practically out the door and the other one is kind of already kind of fading out, I think, of Spurs in general, right? So show them that faith.
And also, Ashley Phillips has played as a left-sided centre back before at Blackburn in the Championship, so he wouldn't be foreign to the role. And I know people prefer a left footer at the left-sided side of the centre back, so they're able to
Can't be
pass
picky
out.
right now, though. I think
But
we can't
right
be picky.
now, exactly, we haven't got much options. So, and I think that's the reason why loads of fans, probably including yourself, were disappointed in the summer window when we didn't recruit another centre back. We knew we needed another centre back just in case something like this
This
happened,
scenario was
and
possible.
also to prevent Dier from coming back, or to prevent like a Davies from coming back into the squad. So having this particular scenario, but for whatever reason, we just didn't get that over the line. The players that we were interested, I thought we were going to go for the. We've been linked with Lloyd Kelly. I thought we were going to maybe go for him and get him in. So then at least you've got cover either way, a left back cover or a left sided centre back cover. A kid that's got pace, he's like 23, 22.
Didn't
So at
even
least,
feel like a hindsight sort of thing. It felt like one of those things where we just saw
yeah,
it coming. Like, we from the very beginning, we were like, if this scenario arises, we will be in a pickle. We will be in a tough place. It could lead to drop points. And it felt all a bit unnecessary. Felt like it could have been, at least somewhat attempted to try to fix that potential scenario. And we didn't end up really doing it. And now we find ourselves in that scenario. And we find ourselves with less than what we could have. We could have had a Lloyd Kelly. We could have had somebody that maybe we would have been given an opportunity for this type of situation. And now we're kind of just threadbare with it. You did touch though on the tactics, Ash. Like just quickly on that, do you feel like one of the tweaks if Ange were to make, and everybody's going to say no, Ange doesn't change, like, and I totally agree with that, but there is maybe some sort of maybe mindset that he could sort of instill into some of the players, in that if we are going to have this high line, maybe we have to be a bit more careful where and when we lose the ball in possession, right? So maybe some of the patterns could be either slowed down or a bit more help and support of certain players positioning in certain areas in case we do lose it, and then we have more midfielders back, more maybe wingers back in case, right, we do end up losing the ball in a bad position. Because sometimes when Spurs do try to sort of, collapse on the ball after they end up losing it and they do play out, this is when we need sort of these fast and sort of kind of agile center backs and defenders to be able to cover a lot of ground, make the right decisions, track the runners. And it feels like what could end up happening is Wolves maybe, end up turning the ball over, or we end up losing the ball in maybe a bad area, and they're able to actually get out of that area very quickly and transition quickly on us. And that's maybe something that Ange could think about sort of limiting, or at least to a degree kind of, stopping for Wolves, because that's where I think they are going to look to hurt us in that sort of regard. Just transition quickly, get, your runners, at that back four, and it'll be a lot easier to sort of break them down that way than it was probably in previous games. I think he'll take advantage of that, because like guys like Cunha, guys like Wang Hee-chan, they are good at taking on their man. They are good at making runs in behind. So you could see them, kind of, if they turn the ball over in the right areas, right, causes problems.
I think Saar will be a forced wing back. What I mean by that is he will start in the 8 position, and sometimes he will start in the 6 position to give us a little bit more solidity in that central area. But when our fullbacks drop into the 8 position, I feel like Saar's able to go into that fullback position for us. And if we lose that ball in that particular area, he's able to help our fullback slash centre back out in those wide areas. And that's why if you ever look at his heat map, Sar's last few heat maps have been super red hot on the right hand side, not so much centrally. And because he's quite young, he's got a lot of legs on him as well. He's able to cover a lot of ground. He's going to be able, and he's going to be vital for us in that transition, those turnovers where Chelsea was saying, Palmer was saying the second balls, they were losing a lot of them in the first 15, 20 minutes, and they kind of struggled with Spurs. And that was a big reason to do with Sar. Sar was able to win those ball backs for us. And he's done that for many a times. And he's a player that a lot of fans do like, but he's not obvious. He's not an obvious like man of the match choice because he hasn't got the final end product in terms of goals, etc. But I think he's going to be super important for us in winning that ball back and helping that high press. And he's going to be able to recover. But equally, Porro has done extremely well at filling back, getting in that area, turning back into a flat back four at times where he has to play a natural right back. And he's able to recover, especially when we went down to 9 men. I thought in the first half, he was losing the ball quite a bit, but defensively in the second half,
his positioning
his position was immaculate. And he's still young, and I want him to build on that performance. I want him to become one of the best right backs in the league. I remember Carl Walker when he first started out, he was not a good right back, and he kind of grew into that role. And I hope that Porro, can learn from some of these games and improve on. I'm not saying to Walker's level because Walker had a very high level, but I think if we're going to play this high line, he needs to be spot on tactically, positioned. Yep. He needs to be totally aware of where he is on the pitch, where he needs to be, and how he needs to help out his teammates, especially if we've got Eric Dier there. He needs to help him out, especially if they're going to try to put balls over the top. But Eric Dier equally needs to help him because Eric Dier is a lot more taller than him, a lot more stronger physical. So in the air, anything over the top, Eric Dier needs to use that big head of his to kind of stop those crosses coming in. But I think Eric Dier interceptions, spot on. In the air, spot on. And then those balls over the top or those cross balls, sometimes it might help us because him and Højbjerg, they can go direct at times. So I know we like to play quite centrally and we like to play through the lines, but sometimes if we hit them directly and we just feed our top three, I think Johnson can be an out ball person where we just find the ball to him directly. And so defensively, it is a worry. But at the same time, when we do have the ball, I think Ange's idea is to squeeze the pitch, win the ball high up, win those second balls. And if they get past our first press, when we try to force them into mistake, then we'll win the ball back in our second phase of play. And that's how we kind of defend. We defend a bit higher up as opposed to we do sacrifice because it's a trade-off, really. Yeah. It's a trade-off in, all right, we're not giving you the space in midfield, but we're going to give you the space in behind. And it's up to you whether you think you can time your passes, time your runs, or find those balls in behind in time. But we're going to be super busy, working hard. And I think Spurs are one of the best teams at winning the ball back aggressively after they've lost it. So I think that's what we're looking at against Wolves at Molineux. It's going to be an interesting battle, to be fair, because like I said before earlier, they're not going to have their star boy in Neto. So it's a game for us to win, and it's also a good test of character for the team, because a lot of people are expecting a drop off about now. If we get through this December and we're still in that top four mix and we're like maybe 4 or 5 points off like the top, then there's going to be a lot of interesting debates being had about Spurs. Like, are we looking like, because Gary Neville came out and he said the mentality of Spurs, I can't say they're flaky anymore. I can't. So already
they have a backbone to them now. Yeah,
exactly. Already you're going to have to say, look, Ange is improving this team, not just like like in the goals wise and defensively, but mentality. Like we say, we don't stop, because until that 93rd minute, it was 2-1. It was 2-1. So we were pretty much going for that equalizer, and we created another 3 to 4 chances in that window. Why? Because we kept to our principles. And I don't think he wanted to tell the team, let's, all of a sudden, let's go low block or Like,
Sure.
it's a wrong type of message that you're trying to get out. So defensively, I think getting Phillips into that and trying to, say, look, or any academy boy, look, if you play well, you get into this team. Because I have a hope that if Phillips does well, then Romero's going to have a question to answer, especially if we actually find a left-sided centre back that's quality and can come into that position. Then all of a sudden, the fans are like, "Wait, hang on, Phillips has been playing well. You can't
Yeah.
drop." A bit like the argument you're having with Bentancur and Sarr. Bentancur was coming back. We're like, "Wait, hang on a second. Sarr's playing well. We can't drop Bentancur." Wouldn't it be so lovely if Phillips came back in the team, not back in the team, but he started in the team and he was playing exceptional and he played to such a level where we were like, you know what? Romero must be naughty. Phillips, could we start Phillips alongside?
That would be passing with flying colors if he were to play that, that freaking well. That would be pretty impressive, to be
I don't
fair.
think
And
it would
I think
happen because he's a
Romero's been
leadership.
nothing short of brilliant, until
He
that
has.
game, right? And so that would be, pretty impressive if he were to do that. If I were to
Yeah.
get a straight prediction from you here, Ange, if you were to, or from, I'm acting like you're Ange, from you, Ashmatic, if I were to get a straight prediction from
Me,
you,
Ange-matic if you
you
want.
were to put a $2 wager on it or something like that, what's your predicted back four? What is Ange gonna go with, do you think?
I
Not maybe
think,
what you want, what do you think he's gonna go with?
I think honestly, I think he will stick with the Poro as a right back. I think he'll stick with Emerson Royale as a left back. He did well against Palace. Um, I think and also his comments as well, how he's training hard, working hard, etc., etc. He's got a real belief in himself as well. I don't know where he gets
Love
the
that.
confidence from, but I want some of that.
Love it,
I
man.
want some of it. But I think that's going to help him push ahead of Davies on that left hand side.
Mhm.
Right side of centre back, I said before, Eric Dier, and I honestly think I've just, like I said, call me superstitious or easily influenced because I just saw the images of Phillips and I'm thinking I'm putting one on one together and I'm getting 11. So I think Phillips
Okay.
can be that final piece ahead of maybe a Højbjerg. I think Højbjerg could go back into midfield. But he will
Mhm.
help out at times. I think he will help out at times. Wouldn't be shocked if Davies did come back in though, but I just don't think it works for the system that we're trying to do with the high line. It just doesn't. Two slow centre backs in the high line. However, just a small caveat. I look at teams like Aston Villa and I look at their flat back four, and I wouldn't say that screams of electrifying pace. Um,
That's fair.
so you know what I mean?
I think it's more just another quick tangent. I actually think a lot of people are so obsessed sometimes with like the center back needing pace to recover, and it can be true. But I think it is more just about certain center backs can get away with playing in a high line because it's more about how they are in possession. If they're not conceding possession in bad areas and they're not giving hospital passes to their midfielders, where then the ball is being turned over and then all of a sudden they're running at the back four, then you can really get away with it. Like for the most part, like you will be able to just be able to retain possession, lose the ball in areas that aren't as dangerous. And, you'll have anticipation and you have sort of, the right positioning. You don't always need to be blessed with Mickey Van de Ven's speed. Even just recently, for example, I watched Shakhtar play with a very high line at times, even against Barcelona. And that was
Yeah.
because, they would drop deep for sure, in certain moments, but other times they were playing with a high line in possession because they just knew if we weren't going to concede possession in these areas, then we'll be fine and we'll be able to get out of it. No problem. And I think that's what hopefully the mentality is. I feel like I agree with your back four because Davies has had some sort of injury issues, if that's to be believed. And if that is, consistent and, carrying into this Wolves game, you might not just throw him in straight away at like left sided center back or something like that. He did do that in the, preseason, but might
What was
not
the
happen
injury, by
here.
the way? What was the injury? What was the
Oh,
injury for
I don't
Davies?
know. I think something that he's been carrying, for a while. It's hard to know really, but in the case of Dyer though, he played relatively well enough that Ange is also the guy to reward maybe that type of thing. And he
Yeah,
would then put and because right, Davies didn't end up even playing. And so
yeah.
he would go with Dyer then Emerson, Poro, Phillips. I
Mhm,
could see that happening because even though maybe he might prefer maybe a Davies over a Dyer, could
mhm,
also just be because Dyer actually played well enough that he doesn't want to just cast him out entirely and, rupture
mhm.
the sort of team dynamic. And I could see that. And I don't really blame Ange for pretty much any combination he goes for. It's pretty threadbare, and it's more kind of the fault of kind of the recruitment over the summer that we didn't really prepare well enough for this sort of situation. So whatever he goes with, best of luck to him. And Ashmatic, tell everybody on this lovely channel what they should be looking out for, or anything coming up on your channel.
Yeah, so as always, we do post-match on a Saturday, but before that, we're doing a preview show on Spurs against Wolves on a Friday night, and it has Spur and TJ and Harry Scarf, the trio, all different opinions, different voices. They argue amongst each other. Really good debates as well. They all challenge each other. So get down to the Southview Coys, check that show out, the preview. My show's on a Tuesday, so I've got a show. We kind of dive into the actual match. We kind of look a little bit closer, some of the details, tactics as well. And Wednesdays, I normally do a rival show where I get other fans from other clubs looking at Spurs and just giving their outside view on what they think of Spurs and what things are going to happen. And then we look at their team a little bit as well. Yeah.
I like it, sir. Everybody, head on over to the Southview Coys TV. Like I said from earlier, Marlon is also, you might recognize him, sending in all those great predictions. Ashmatic is great for any live show, any pre-record, just a great guy to have a chat with and have a good in-depth conversation with. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. Smash the like button, please, on the way out. Get your comments in down below, and we'll be seeing you. Come on, you Spurs, and the big Ange we trust. We never stop.
We never stop.